Welcome back. This is Sandy with Sandy's Organized Chaos, and today we're going to be doing these extremely easy foil tumblers. Not only are they so simple to make, but they are so beautiful as well and would make a perfect gift for a bridal shower or even just having on your table this holiday. As always, I'll make sure to put everything that I use today into the description box below so that way you guys can shop those items if you would like to. So let's wake up, prep those tumblers, and slay all day. Let's do this. I have already prepped and painted my 15-ounce wine glasses here. Now, the paint that I used today was this Rustic Pink. I like to do it the day before, just so that way I know all those paints are nice and dry on my tumbler. Now the adhesive that I'm going to be using to apply my foils is by Alumilite, and this is called Tack-it over and over again. So if you guys have never used this before, this essentially stays tacky well after it's dried. It goes on kind of white, and then once it's dry, you'll know because it'll turn clear, and it'll still have that nice sticky surface for us to be able to work with. Now, it doesn't really matter what kind of brush you use to brush on your glue. I'm just using an old fan brush that I have. I really liked the texture that it has on it, so that's why I'm using it. But you guys can use any type of brush you would like to do this. Now all I am doing is essentially just going up and down with my glue. That's it. This is going to be my first layer because I am going to put some epoxy with mica powders in it after I do this part, because I wanted to kind of dull the gold a little bit and kind of give it, a little bit more texture, which I'll show you guys here in a second. But this is all I wanted to do. You just want to give it a little bit of texture. So the thicker you apply it, the thicker that gold foil is going to stick to it. And the thinner, you'll just have thinner bands of that foil around your tumbler. So I'm going to go ahead and do both these tumblers. I'm going to set them off to the side and let that dry really good. Now let's talk about the foil that I will be using on our tumbler today. This is called Deco Foil, and I got that right off of Amazon. It comes in all kinds of different beautiful metallic colors, and there were even some pattern stuff on there as well, and it was really hard to choose what I wanted to do because so many beautiful colors, but I decided just to keep it very simple today with just the gold. Now, for those of you that have never worked with foil before, this is an extremely lightweight material. It is very light. I know it might look like vinyl, but it isn't. It is extremely light. So one side has the backing, which is the side that you see the gold on. Now, this gray side is the side that you're going to stick down to your tacky surface, and then when you pull the paper back, it will release the gold, and all that will be left is the beautiful gold on your tumbler. So here I showed you guys, I just cut those strips right up so that way I could just kind of wrap my tumbler in it. I'm just going to wrap it up really good and make sure that I kind of smooth it out the best that I can. It doesn't have to be perfect. And once I am done kind of smoothing that out, I know you guys seen I didn't put any on the bottom and all that. I'm going to do that in a little bit. This is just our first layer of the gold foil. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and finish smoothing that out and then just peel it right off. And as you can see, it's nice and clear on where the backing was. That's because all that gold is now on your tumbler. So that's exactly what you want it to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other tumbler in the same fashion, making sure that the gray side is what is on the sticky part of our tumbler, wrapping it up, smoothing it out really good, and then just peeling it off. It's as simple as that. I know you guys got this. Now, once I was done doing this, I did go ahead and put them back onto their wands, and I did give it a very light spritz of my 2x Ultra Clear just to make sure that my epoxy didn't want to not stick to my tumbler. So just as a precaution, I did that and I didn't have any issues. So now I am using my Quick Coat Epoxy by Alumilite today, just so that way I can get my project done quicker. And I'm actually going to add some of this peachy beige from mica powder from Arteza right into my epoxy as well. I like to buy the big kits that they have. It has like a whole array of colors because I don't use mica powders too often, but it's nice to have all these different colors to choose from when I need them. But I am going to go ahead and mix this up right into my epoxy. And the reason why I wanted to do this was because I wanted to add just a little bit more shimmer to my tumbler. Not too much, not too glittery, just a little bit of shimmer. And I also wanted to smooth out the bottom before I finish up adding any more gold foil, which adding a coat of epoxy will help do that as well. And because I only bought one type of foil today, I only bought the gold one, and I wish I would have bought a couple other extra colors to add layering to it. This is going to help that effect out as well. It's going to kind of dull the gold that's already on there and actually give it more of a rose gold look to it once this epoxy has cured. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this to my tumbler and get that going. Now I went ahead and placed these right onto my turner, and I was able to move on to that next step in about 4 hours because I used my quick coat epoxy. Now this was after about 4 or 5 hours. I might have waited longer because, I had to go get the kids and stuff, but here they are, and they are ready to have another layer of that foil applied. Now with this second round of my gold foil, I'm going to use my Tack-it again, just like we did the first round, same thing. And I'm just going to take my brush and I'm really going to load it up this time. I'm going to make sure that my areas are really filled in with this Tack-it so that way more of that gold will stick down. And all I'm going to do on the sides of the tumbler after I finish getting the bottom done is I'm just going to very lightly come through and feather more areas down onto the side just so that way it kind of fills in just a little bit more and gives us a little bit more dimension and character all the way around. And just like that first round that we did, I'm going to set those off to the side. I'm going to let those dry, and then we'll be ready to add our second layer of foil. Now those foil sheets that I used earlier still had some areas that were still usable, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I use up as much as I can off my sheets here. But after I pull that up, you'll be able to really see how much shinier that is compared to the side. I really love the way this looks, and I hope that you guys really enjoy making these as well. And exactly like the first time, I'm going to go ahead and finish applying my foils here. After I'm done applying my foils, I'm going to put them onto their wand. I'm not going to put anything into the epoxy this round. I only wanted it in my first round of epoxy, so this will just be a regular clear form of epoxy that I'm going to be adding. So I'm going to go ahead and do that next. Now, I was a little bit on the fence about this next part that I'm going to do because I'm going to be applying some beautiful Sally. This is called Sally from my glitter shop, socglitters.com. I'm going to be applying a little bit of this around the rim, and at first I was a little terrified, but I'm actually so happy that I did because I knew I did want to do this on one of them. So I'm very happy with the end results. But all I'm going to do is apply that glitter right into my epoxy. Like I said earlier, I did up the rim really well. Then I'm just going to let it cascade down my tumbler. You can let it go as far as you would like. I just did it probably about halfway down to give it just a very unique look. So that way one could be just a little bit more different than the other one. Now I did let that cure, and I did apply a second coat of epoxy over the top of my raw glitter here, so that way when we go to move on to the sanding portion, they were both equal and we're both ready to be or have their finishing coats of epoxy on. So now both of them are all done and we're ready to clean up our rims really well. And then I'm going to come through and give everything a really good sanding. Now the one with the glitter, I did need to sand just a little bit more than I did with this one. I just did around the rim here, just so that way I exposed a little bit of my silver, so that way it would look nice and tidy and pretty. But with this one, I did need to give it just a little bit more rougher of a sanding just to make sure it was nice and smooth. But if you guys would like to add an initial or a monogram or a quote, this would be the time that you would do it after you give it a good sanding, and then you are ready to apply your two last finishing coats of epoxy. Whether you take this design and duplicate it as is, or you take it and let it inspire you to create something that is completely your own, I hope that you guys had a lot of fun watching this tutorial today. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next time.